Right,
we've got,
but
oh,
with
wait,
Marty.
With Marty,
yeah, we've got 4.
Okay.
Just wait for Marty.
Was Eric gonna join by Zoom? You don't know.
I imagine he is.
What a worthless dog. The way you really think. Get him up there so I can talk. Oh,
Should be here. There he is. There he is.
somebody has to be that guy.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, Marty. We need you for a forum.
What? Okay, sorry. With my kid, he's having surgery on his ear now.
Oh, my.
Not major, just so he can hear. That's major.
That's
Pretty major.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
They think they can do it for
Hi,
me?
Eric.
Well, you and I, there's no help for.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, he's over there.
We're gonna have to call you again.
You can't hear me?
No,
We can, you're just in a weird spot. You're off in
Hardly.
the corner.
I'm off in a corner, huh?
We don't
We're
listen to
gonna
you.
call your cell. If
Nobody
you,
listens anyway.
if you could mute yourself and not call yourself.
Tracy's not gonna listen to me.
What's his problem?
Said you never listened to him.
That's right, I don't.
Yeah, we gotta get through this. I got a big old game with a Wego tonight.
Here's what we hear. Restructuring.
Sorry.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. 6 0
Straight to voicemail.
You rejected the call.
All right, you can't hear me. I'm gonna send on a chat my number, because you gotta call me at the office.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated.
At the office?
Yeah.
All right, what's your number?
Nothing is easy today. 565-2841.
Oh, boy. Wait a minute, hang on.
Hang on, keep your shirt on there, big guy. Don't take your shirt off.
565-2841.
Thank you for calling the Waverly Central School District offices. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time. Press 1 for the maintenance supervisor.
It's killing
Press
me.
2 for the special education office. Press 3 for the business,
They're all moving
Tax,
around because.
accounts payable offices.
You don't even know what it's special.
HCD director. Press 4 for the director of management services. Press 5 for the superintendent's office.
Sit down.
Wait while I transfer your call.
I'm just gonna call you. Hang on. It's easier.
I don't know this number.
It should say the extension.
8241.
You wanna call 607-82, wait,
No,
687-8241.
Did you get that?
Got it.
Can't get here on time for once, and that could have been my normal 5 minutes late.
I gotta talk to IT about it.
When it rings, we're gonna hang up on it. Right there?
Yep.
Hang on. I gotta do something
You
here.
gotta mute yourself on here.
We're good. All
We're
right.
good. Now,
We're good. We don't know if you are.
I'm as good as it gets. I got built a brand new office, no cell service. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
all right,
Okay.
we good?
We're
All right.
good.
We're good.
We're good to
Okay.
go.
Welcome, everybody. It is February 7th, so February meeting of the Tioga County Industrial Development Agency. Can we get a roll call, Christine?
Yep, John Ward.
Here.
Mark Sabra.
Yep.
Tracy Manell.
Yep.
Eric Knowles.
Yeah.
Mary Townsend.
Yes.
And Kevin is excused.
Yeah. And privilege of the floor, nothing there.
So
Go ahead.
if anybody happens to notice Steve Roche pop up as a participant, he was planning to call to give an update on the 2 studies Larson Design Group is giving for us.
Okay.
Maybe he's, oh, You know what it is I have to set up a brand new Zoom meeting link because the other one disappeared. And I sent it to Eric and Kevin, but not Steve, so
we won't worry
you
about
wanna
it.
just catch him next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works for me. How about
Okay.
you?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way.
I mean, I can send it to him now, but I don't wanna take up too much of your time waiting for him. Okay,
If it's easy to send to them, go ahead.
all right,
We can add them in anytime.
okay, I'll do that real quick, hold on.
Gonna move on to.
Yeah, we can
approval.
move to the approval of the minutes.
I
I
make
give
a
everybody a
motion.
good chance.
I make a
I
motion
make-
to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Set there. In regards to financials, I mean, Christine and I worked on those a bit today. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to look at those or have any questions on them. P&L is pretty simple. Only 1 month in.
Well, we put a lot of faith in you, John.
Yeah, thanks. No, nothing. No major movements. I mean, really, the biggest thing was in December because we got Veolia's big payment, so that's nuts. I will ask for a motion to acknowledge the financial statements as sent out.
So move.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. We got Brittany today. Come on up. That's big.
Well, a handout here if you guys wanna. Sure. Pass that around. Marty, you know, you had like 5 copies of it, so.
Oh, that was.
I'm not going through it all, don't worry.
Thank
Then you're gonna hear it tomorrow, too.
Cause you're gonna hear it tomorrow, that's right. So basically, I started working on this slide deck a couple months ago, mostly help myself kind of wrap my head around our current economic development strategy, but also to start helping with visioning for the future for our department. So really, this was more something I shared with our looking in our legislative committee. But I thought you guys might have some interest in seeing some of this too, particularly the changes to our upcoming staffing plan in the next few months. So like I said, I'm not gonna read it through everything word for word, but if you guys go through it later and have questions, feel free to reach out to me on that. So basically, I just started with our mission for our department, which is to facilitate and support activities which increase job opportunities, maximize the quality of life, and foster the vibrant rural economy within Tioga County. And then from there, I broke it down into the components of that strategy. So planning and sustainability, business retention and attraction, workforce development, neighborhood development, and community development. And kind of intentionally structured it, in this way, so it's easy to visualize how all of these things are interrelated to one another. I know a lot of times it seems like, hey, we're kind of doing housing over here with a land bank, or doing a little bit of workforce, and how does this all tie into economic development work? So that was really the intent of structuring it this way, is to show how workforce development supports our businesses, neighborhood development supports our workforce, and community development, keeps people wanting to live and work here. So, as you guys kind of go through, like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these components, but basically what I do is break each one down into how it translates into our day-to-day activity with our department and our job functions. So just for example, with planning, these functions are primarily carried out by our county planning director, and you can go through the primary functions of that position, the grant programs that we typically tend to access to support that role, other programs or activities that she handles, and then our partnering agencies on the right. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to flip ahead to the end for this discussion here, going over this, but basically just to talk about the upcoming changes with our staffing plan. So with Leanne potentially looking to retire in May, pending, legislative approval, I would be stepping into the director position. And then Megan Schnabel would be stepping into our deputy director position. So we'll be looking to hire for our economic development specialist position that Megan is currently in. So I know you guys are aware of this, but Megan currently, through that ACDEV position, holds or handles the minutes and separation of duties for the IDA. And I know our team, provides other administrative support as well, in exchange for the $20,000 admin fee that's paid to the county. So we do plan on having our new ACDEV specialist person when we hire them, continuing to handle these duties. If it's agreeable to continue that partnership with the IDA. Although in the meantime, until we get that new person hired and situated, we did handle it internally until it's filled. And then the only other thing I really wanted to highlight on the change to the staffing plan is with our education workforce coordinator position. So you guys may be aware, but that position has been grant funded for the past 3 years through the Hooker Foundation. So we're just on the start of year 3 for that position. And the original intention was that after the 3-year period, we possibly look for school district or business participation to continue funding the position. And obviously 3 years ago, that was kind of best laid plans with that. But after seeing, how complicated the school budgeting process is, but also mixed in with the different BOCES and possibly adding businesses as well, it's not something that we feel like is sustainable and realistic to keep funding that way long term. So after conversations with our legislative committee and with our education workforce coordinator, what we're intending to do is shift Sean into our vacant community development specialist position so that he's able to continue doing his current job duties with the talent supply table, but also take on some additional community development work as well. So, we didn't want to lose the great work that he's doing, but wanted to kind of have a realistic funding plan for his position moving forward. So those are kind of the big changes we have coming up. Do you have anything else? I don't know if anyone has any questions or I know I skipped through a good few.
Pipe in from over here on the west side of the area. Lock and leaning into your organization's a good move. He's bright and he's solid.
Yeah, he's done a wonderful job and we're excited to keep doing that work to support the talent supply table and not lose that piece of it. So
So the thought is he'd slide over one,
yeah.
basically.
So we would go down one position in our head count. We basically remove the education workforce coordinator. We currently have a vacant economic development specialist position that a few years down the road we'd like to look to rehire for as well. In addition to our one that's going to be vacant soon.
Was that Abby's shop?
Abby was our community development
Okay,
specialist.
okay.
That's why there's a vacancy there.
Christine, this is Steve with LDG. Are you able to hear me now?
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Eric,
I don't even want to call him.
Eric, did you say something? No.
Hi, Steve. I want to call you on my cell phone and put you on speaker. And then ask you to mute your computer once I get your cell.
Okay, I'm on my cell, so I can leave this meeting and then have you call me if that's how you want to do it.
Yes, please. What's
All
your
right.
number?
What's that?
What's your number?
570-396-0278.
570-396-0278.
That's the one.
Okay, thank you. I'll call you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Can you hear this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Hopefully Eric can hear you as well.
Yeah, I got ears like a bat. No worries.
Sorry, Steve, for all the technical difficulties here today.
Nope, no worries. I figured it was me. Usually I'm the one that has the technical issues.
So thanks for joining us. So Steve at Larson Design Group is facilitating the Raymond Hadley water capacity study and the Richford Railroad design study. And he's here to join us to give us an update on the status of that and where we're at with both of those.
Yep, you ready for me to speak my piece?
Yes, we are.
All right, I'll start with Raymond Hadley. In talking with Christine here over the last couple of days, it sounds like that's more of a priority. We had 4 separate components to this project that we're working on. A preliminary engineering report, an environmental report, a map planning report, and a hydro model of Van Etten's water system and what an extension to Raymond Hadley would look like. So where we're at with that stuff now is we have the hydraulic model complete. That's in pretty good shape. We've got Van Etten's system modeled. We also have a main extension all the way to Raymond Hadley modeled as well. We've got basically the initial results are showing that Van Etten's water system has plenty of capacity to facilitate an extension to Raymond Hadley. We used some water rates that Raymond Hadley had anticipated using for daily purposes modeled in there, along with fire protection flows. All of that is checking out good, so it's showing that we can physically make a connection, and Van Etten's system will support it. Part of what we're doing, a lot of these reports along with the model are all interconnected, if you will, is a map planning report. So the map planning report basically looks at what a future water district would look like if we were to extend to Raymond Hadley. So we assume that all of the properties adjacent to this water main extension would be in this water district. And basically what we do is we make an assumption that if all of them were to connect, we lump them into the water usage to make sure that they also could be supported. So that's what we're working on now with the map plan and report. We've got a district outlined. I sent that over to Van Etten, and they're actually going to take a look at it at their meeting tomorrow, just to make sure that they're in agreement with what we're showing. The only thing that we haven't really calculated yet, we're working on an EDU count so we can come up with that anticipated flow. I've got to coordinate, there's a school that is between Van Etten and Spencer. So that's probably going to be the biggest user outside of Raymond Hadley. So I've got to touch base with those folks. I assume that because they're supplying water, that they are keeping track of their flows. Once we get that information from them, we can factor that into our model. Based on what we're seeing, I don't think there's any concern with capacity there, but we want to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's on that type of stuff. In conjunction with that, as I mentioned, there's also a preliminary engineering report and an environmental report. The environmental report is mostly done at this point. That goes through and looks at, exactly what it sounds like, environmental concerns. So we'll take a look at, wetlands, archaeological areas of concern, endangered animals that are listed in the DEC's website for that corridor, those types of items. We did find that the entire village of Spencer is located in one of the archaeological study areas. That doesn't necessarily mean that our project will impact anything from an archaeological perspective. I don't know if you folks are familiar with how those work, but they'll put a big circle, I think it's 1 mile in diameter, that says basically within that area there may be archaeological concerns, but it's not centered on the archaeological concern. So the reason they don't do that is because they don't want people that are hunting for arrowheads and stuff like that to use their website and try to locate areas that they can go digging for arrowheads. So usually the folks at SHPO have that stuff mapped. So we'll start a consultation through the cultural resource website, basically outline our project area, and then you submit that, and then they'll come back and tell you whether or not there's a concern. Typically what we find in scenarios like this, where we've got a water main that is going to be under basically the shoulder of the road, it's all previously disturbed areas. So typically you don't have an issue with that. But again, that's dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that everything's kosher there. So we're working on that now. The preliminary engineering report is kind of the last step of the process. That's where we take all of the information that's gathered in the modeling, the other reports, and we make our recommendations for alternatives, make our recommendations for, the desired path forward, and we put together cost estimates and stuff like that. So that's the last piece of the pie. We've got some of that started, but we've got to finish up some of these other items before we can complete that. So that is a brief overlook of where we're at with Raymond Hadley. Anyone have any questions on that?
That was very good, very succinct.
Can you give us an idea what the anticipated time frame is to wrap everything up?
So we were shooting to do, and I'm hoping to have it done sooner than that. We're shooting to have a draft for everybody to review. I think I told Christine by the end of April. Obviously we're running a little bit behind on where we originally thought we were going to be. So we've got quite a few boots on the ground in this, trying to pull together all the parts and pieces to make sure that we can, get that done as soon as we can.
Okay. Very good.
So nobody has any more questions on that. I'll jump over to the Richford Railroad piece.
Sounds good.
All right, so for that one, we had a couple moving parts and pieces as well. We had to do a survey, which has been completed, of the property. We also had geotech folks come out and do some borings alongside of the railroad bridge, the existing one. The goal there just being so when we look at what we have to do with a new bridge, we've got an idea of what the soil bearing capacities are, so we can make sure that the thing is designed correctly. And we have really a big part of that is making sure that the footers are correct as well, based on the soils that we've got on site. So that has all been done. And we've currently got our structural folks taking a look at the geotech reports, and they'll give us some design guidelines for what we're going to need for a new bridge. I know that in the proposal that was originally done, we had talked about looking at either rehabilitation or a new bridge. Those will be the two alternatives, but realistically, given that what's driving this project is the flooding concerns, I don't think that rehabilitation is going to be realistic, just because we don't have a big enough opening underneath the bridge currently to alleviate those flooding concerns. So the other part of that equation is we're working on a hydraulic analysis of the watershed that is draining to the bridge. And what that will do is it will allow us to kind of come up with that open area, if you will, underneath the bridge to safely convey any storm events. So as we're working on that, that's all stuff that gets fed into the hopper when we work with the structural folks. And then we'll be able to come up with a recommended bridge size. We're probably looking at a 3-sided box culvert So a square structure without a bottom. So you have a natural stream bed. That's usually something that the folks at DEC like to see because of animal passageways, fish, turtles, frogs, stuff like that. So we're working on that now. And then we'll also be pulling together a seeker form, an environmental assessment. And that's something that gives people an opportunity, involved parties, the railroad, DEC, et cetera, to comment on the project and make sure there's no environmental concerns on their ends. Typically, when we do that, we'll send these inquiries out to the interested parties, and they have an option to comment or to ask to be involved more. Typically, we don't hear responses back from those folks. I think it's 30 days that we have to give them to respond. If they don't respond within that time frame, then they're not interested, and it defaults back to us as the project to roll forward with that. So that's what we're working on there. I was shooting for the same timeline as the Raymond Hadley, trying to get something done by the end of April. In talking with Christine, she mentioned that if we have to push that a little bit to advance the Raymond Hadley, that would be the direction we want to go. So right now I've got my structural folks independently working on their pieces of that puzzle. And then, once they've got that done, we'll pick it up and run with it. I already looked at some of the preliminary grading that would be required. The railroad has given us guidance on what the maximum approach slopes would be to the bridge, and that allows us, once we've got the new bridge sized, we can grade back and forward, basically away from the bridge in both directions to make sure that we conform to those railroad parameters. Excuse me.
Sounds like you got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, no, it's been going. Once January hit, we kind of, again, we're running a little bit behind what we had originally hoped to do here. So we got all hands on deck, and we're really pounding the pavement here, trying to get these things all pulled together for you.
Anybody else got questions? Steve, I'm good. Good. No. Thank you for the updates. We appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem.
Very good.
All right.
You're done then. You don't need anything else, do you, Steve?
No, I don't think so. Christine, I'll make sure that I keep you updated here every 2 weeks or so, or sooner if you would like here, and just let you know how we're progressing and where things stand. And obviously, if any questions pop up on my end, I'll reach out to you and let you know.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, not a problem.
Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
You want to add anything, Leanne, for EDMP? You're good.
No, I gave my time to Brett, so.
Good. All right. Now the new business, Christine Enterprise.
Yeah, so Kevin Gillette previously had recommended we look into enterprise product partners out in Hartford. He had heard it was being sold. It turns out a new company had already bought it. And then he recommended, well, maybe they'd like to lease some land or sell some land and let a new company move in there that wants to use the adjacent rail line. So our goal is to, RJ Corman was going to reach out and see if their interest level in doing that, and they hadn't done it yet. They said they will follow up on it now, but we might do our own outreach and just call Enterprise ourselves and just discuss it and see if they're open-minded to that as a path to increasing our railroad freight revenue. And John actually has a connection with their IDA director out there. So John, if you want to kind of just let everyone know
Yeah, I mean, it's,
About that.
you know him, Joe, Brendan O'Brien's the
Oh, yeah.
Portland County IDA exec.
He was broom and he just got the new job.
Right, so he's just getting his feet wet. He's not real familiar with that business. I think it's probably time to send, was it Jim, another note, just to see if, I mean, if you send him another note now and he still hasn't done anything, he's not gonna do anything, is my worry. And then we gotta figure out if we can figure out if there's a contact there to talk to. And at least figure out if there's anything.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Pretty open-ended, but it's worth a shot to try to increase revenue if we can. I mean, they were the biggest user, weren't they?
Yeah, well, yes. Fluctuated
Sure,
depending on gas prices.
sure.
I think there's an opportunity there.
I mean, it looks like a nice facility. I mean, again, I don't know what they have capacity wise. I actually ran into Brandon Smith and, he had mentioned that they, buy product from them from time to time. And I guess they have substantial capacity up there. Not a business I'm super familiar with, but it's worth pounding the pavement on that one to just, figure out if there's any life there or not. Guess that's it there. Committee reports.
Yeah, so the governance committee is recommending appointing Jim Lavo to the IDA loan committee. So we're seeking approval by the full board. That would be bringing a bank savvy individual onto the committee, help fill the vacancies left by some of the exiting members.
Yeah, Aaron and Ralph both came off over the past couple of years, and I don't think we've replaced either of them. So. Jim is, I think, the only commercial lender I can think of that both works and has an office in Tioga.
I've known him a long time.
So you need a,
Yeah, so I'd be looking for a motion to formally appoint Jim Lavo to the loan committee.
I'll make that a motion.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried.
Forgot you were there.
Lurking.
When you want to send Jim an email? I haven't talked to
I
Jim in
talked
a
to him
while.
directly.
Yeah, I run into him at Price Chopper relatively often, but I don't know that I even have his phone number for.
Yeah, I called him initially to see if he had interest and we had a nice conversation. So I'm happy to reach out to him.
Yeah, if you just want to just to make sure I have his best contact info, and then I have no problem talking to him too, so. All right, get him tangled up in the loan committee. So we got nothing on audit, nothing on finance. Guess the next item is we'd be looking for an affirmation of the email vote. This was for a $40,000 loan we've been talking about for Paperfield. So this is the glamping facility up in North
Yes.
Valley. We've talked about it a few different times. We had to give them a lease so that they could run utilities under the railroad.
Yeah.
Yurts.
Yeah.
Yep. And so this funding will help them get yurts bought. They've invested a lot of money up there. It's, Christine and I walked the property with Jennifer Payton. If you drive by it on Wig Street, it looks like just a house, but it's kind of a typical house lot, but then it crosses the railroad and really opens up into a huge field that goes all the way back to the creek, which they've spent a lot of money. They've already worked for the health department. I think they basically assumed that that place will be maxed out to capacity all year long, and then force a septic system that size. So they've got a huge septic system that's in the ground, all done. Bathhouse is pretty much done. They're working on the house. It's not going to be a house anymore, but what we're providing and funding actually between a partnership between the IDA and Tioga State Bank is not even half of the money they've already put in themselves. So, open up the floor for anybody that has questions, if any. So we give them $40,000. That's over what? It's just a 7-year term, right?
Yeah. 7.5% interest.
Both the bank's file and IDA's files. Pumped in Joe's lap now.
Yes.
So, I'd be looking for a motion just to affirm the email vote approving the $40,000 IRB loan. Second. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried. Next item on the agenda is, the release program.
So, do you want to?
Anybody, there's multiple people in the room that probably got a little bit more experience with that than I do.
Yeah, so, in the past, REAP has run an equipment lease program through funding through the USDA. And, it's been pretty successful, I would say. Yeah. And so what we're wondering is, should we seek more funding to continue that program? So REAP, all volunteer board of community development arm. And it's through the REAP, our REAP designation, that we get priority scoring for any of our USDA application and request for funding. So it really gives us a leg up, and there's quite a bit. You can probably speak to this better than I can, Brittany. We've left a lot of money on the table that we'd really like to not do that anymore. So we're talking with REAP. Why don't you talk about how that went with REAP and what their thoughts on it are?
Yeah,
as far as-
this, like Nan said, just being a volunteer board in the past and not really having capacity to underwrite and really take a more carefully financial look at the lease program. They did have one kind of bad experience. I would say all the other equipment leases that they've done have been really good. It's helped businesses. So I think they're a little hesitant to just do the program on their own without having support from, necessarily maybe the IDA or the loan committee, to give them a little more comfort in running the program. So I think it could kind of work one of two ways. We could apply to the USDA Rural Business Development Grant for the equipment lease funds. They could have maybe the loan committee for an admin fee or some kind of structure, underwrite the projects, take a look at them, make sure they make sense. And then possibly have the IDA administer the lease payments back as well. Or I think, if it makes more sense to just run the program straight through the IDA instead. The IDA is an eligible applicant for the RBDG program. So we could look at it that way too.
The challenge is the deadline for making the application is the end of February. And it does require a resolution from whatever entity is making the application, authorizing an application. So that's why we're bringing this now. We'll get the deadline thing. And just so you know, the lease program, what happens is, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, say an entity determines that they need, we did Read Book, and they needed equipment. So REAP obtains the funding through USDA, purchases equipment, and then leases it to Read Book. So they make a monthly payment back to REAP, and then that money is that revolved, or does that go back to? That's
So
revolved, right?
it revolves back, and then it's yours to keep. Normally they do it for the useful life of the equipment, not to exceed 10 years. That's how REAP's kind of structured it in the past. So REAP would physically own the equipment. They'd have like a UCC or a lien against the equipment. At the end of the repayment term, when it's fully repaid, they would then sell the equipment back to the business for like $1 or something like that. So that's how they've structured it in the past. It's reimbursable. So initially up front, you have to use a line of credit or whatever maybe available funds you have to purchase the equipment. Once it's installed, you get reimbursed the full amount. But I think we could structure that a little differently if we wanted to have that more secure. And then when the payments come back, they're yours to, you don't have to return them to the USDA. You can rerun them. You can use them for some other kind of program.
What sort of terms are they leasing to the business under? Do you know?
So
what
REAP
sort of-
was doing a 0% interest lease. So they're just basically paying back the principal on the equipment. And for a term, they didn't exceed 10 years, but it also depended on the useful life of the equipment, might be less than 10 years.
So that, we could look at that too. You could look at, if you wanted to say charge 1%,
Yes.
and then.
Yeah.
So when Reedbrook did this purchase,
Mhm.
Reed was involved with this?
Yes.
Okay.
So what kind of equipment would that be?
Slicers and dicers probably.
That, there was funds given out to a brewery for brewery equipment.
That's what I was thinking, but-
There was a kind of technologic, there was a company in Nichols that,
TCR.
yeah, that, I mean, generally it's, you know, a manufacturer, it's somebody making something, but a lot of, once upon a time, when my first involvement was USDA actually covered a portion of the purchase.
They did. They
And it was a
did.
really, really nice program because people got something for cents on the dollar. Now they're generally paying the full amount, so you're getting something for well, most recently, no interest, basically. The biggest challenge for whoever administers this is that upfront funding piece.
Yeah.
And trying to make sure there's protections there. There was the one bad experience. We probably want to work with Joe on getting documentation in place to not allow the end recipient off the hook as easy as the last person was, whether that's through guarantees or something. We'd have to talk about that, but when you applied before you knew there was a end applicant?
No, so all the past applications, we've had one or two businesses up front ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never done one. I don't know how the USD would feel about that.
How much would you be looking for, do you know?
Normally with that program, you don't want to go above 100,000, you want to stay under 100, it gives us priority points, basically. So, you know, we could start with something in that range.
We can get $100,000 that we could administer or help you administer to help somebody in the community. I don't see anything wrong with it. Makes sense to me.
But do you think we should charge some sort of interest so that if we manage it?
Yeah.
If we got,
Yes,
mean,
yeah, trying to figure out how we get at least paid for the admin, I think is key, but we don't need to know that to make application, right?
Okay. So really what we're looking for then would be a resolution that from this board. What are they specifically looking for? Just authorization to apply?
Authorization for IDA or for REAP? Here.
That, well, the REAP board would have to give authorization for REAP to apply. We'd like authorization for the IDA to apply. We'll figure it out. And then if it ends up that between now and when the application's due, it ends up.
REAP
So
wants
the
to do
question,
it.
so the question is, are you comfortable being the applicant? If that's the way we go with it?
I
But it's not-
personally don't have a problem with that. Do you?
but it's, no, but I just gotta figure it out. But it's not the IDA running the program. It's under REAP, or is it the IDA?
If the IDA applies, it would be the IDA running
Okay.
the program.
It would basically be another, I mean, the way I would vision it, it would almost just be another bucket under our different
Yeah.
programs, you know.
Okay.
But again, $100,000 is not.
No, I'm good with IDA doing it straight out.
What do you
Because it's
think?
just cleaner and quicker and, yeah.
I think 100's a decent number to, you know, you might be able to find a couple people at the most, you know, so it would be a decent test run without putting a ton more burden on.
Yeah.
The day to day, so.
So you need a motion?
I guess we'd be looking for a motion to allow the IDA to be the applicant for,
I'll make that a motion.
so we'd be applying to the USDA for lease program. Is that what they basically just call it, or?
The rural business development.
Okay, so RBDG grant.
Yeah.
For the lease program,
What he said.
sure. All right, so I got Tracy's our first,
In the amount,
Up to, not to exceed
not to exceed.
All right.
99.
all right. So
Whatever.
that'd be the motion for Megan so we'd be the applicant for a maximum amount of 100 grand.
And Joe did make a reso for us on that, so we already have that.
We need a second and a vote, Paul,
We
right?
do need a second.
Mary, you second? I will second.
All in favor?
I give you a chance. I'm good with it.
So carried. I'm sure the resolution reads a lot cleaner than my tripping over me.
That's all right.
No, you did great.
It was all perfect. I'm certain of it.
Certain.
Here we go. Just so everybody, you wanna look at it? Here we go.
It is a good
Oh, that's
program. We just
different.
wanna
That's a different,
Sorry, that's a different one.
that's the,
dot the i's and cross the
We don't
t's.
have a resume.
I'll get you
Not get caught in the middle of a COVID pandemic.
This is in your purview.
it's looking for you.
Move forward.
Yeah, it's bad, bad all around,
Those two are.
bad all around.
All right.
All right, we're up to pilot updates. Christine.
Okay. So sales tax exemption, they continue to submit. We are waiting for Best Bev to determine whether or not they're going to ask for another increased sales tax exemption amount. They've hit their current limit and they are reviewing their expenditures, whether or not they actually think they're gonna need to spend a little bit more and ask for an increased sales tax exemption. So I would anticipate that to come next month.
So they've submitted the 1.64, but they've spent all the way up to the 2.2.
Yeah, forgive me, I need to update that figure. They've hit the 2242 limit.
So they've spent all of that.
Yeah, so I asked them to submit a letter request, another letter of explanation and explaining their new anticipated total, so that's not in yet, but it should be soon.
Anybody walk through there recently?
Not recently. I need to get down.
I was gonna say, I'd be interested. I mean, obviously they're making a big investment in Waverly, so it's good.
Yeah, I've been through, but I haven't been through it in the last 3 months, so, I mean, they've got lines running right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, if anybody
I'll set
sets
something up.
something up, I'd be
Yeah.
interested.
I'll set it up.
Onward to just a FYI for the whole board to be aware that the solar project out in Spencer Tioga Solar has been purchased by a new company, Altus Power Renewable Energy. Joe is gonna confer with their lawyer and see whether or not, actually kind of push them to make a formal document transferring the pilot agreement to them. They really should have probably approached us asking for that document just to have a clean file on their end, but since they didn't, we'll approach them and.
It's the same process we went through last month with Tioga Hills. As I said back then,
Right.
most companies want to have it before they want to have a resolution.
Right.
Although it technically isn't required if they've met certain standards, but again, they didn't ask for it, but I'll have a discussion.
I mean, if they want to formalize that, are we gonna have to file anything with the clerk's office or anything like
No.
that, or no?
We would adopt a resolution authorizing it based on what we provide.
So we don't have to do anything right now.
No,
We know who we're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it on that. Project updates?
So if you recall, we entered a hydrant agreement with Veolia. Now that the county officially took over the roadway, I forwarded those documents to Veolia. They're transferring those hydrants to be included in the Village of Owego's public hydrants to be paid by their nominal fee. And so our semi-annual payments are now ending and they'll send us a prorated refund for the payment that we just made. They're gonna base it off the date of that county actually taking the road, so the full payment we cut should come right back to us.
Grant updates.
So you heard from Larson Design Group on Richford and Raymond Hadley. So for last month, you approved moving forward with Hunt for the engineering design for the speculative buildings out in Lounsbury. At the kickoff meeting, the scope of work was discussed and it was revised a little bit. You all have a packet here with Williams and Edsall is your page 1 of that packet. So based on conversation, Hunt provided a new scope of work. Basically, they're going to take a step back and look at whether or not the 240,000 square feet buildings is optimal or what other options might be better as far as building size and layout. And they offer to do all that scope for $45,000. And and then they offered some additional services for quite a hefty price. So, internally, and John and Leanne recommended that we go with the $45,000 fee here and get a topographic survey elsewhere and hold off on the geotech until a phase 2 later. So we have a Williams and Edsall quote for the topographic survey for $4,200. And so what we're seeking is the board to approve moving forward with the hunt fee of $45,000 and the Williams and Edsall of $4,200.
That'll equate to a total responsibility to us after the grant. How much?
Well, let's see, so 49.2 is actually 2,000, it's actually 1,900 less than our original quote from Larson. So, 26.5 minus 1,900 is our contribution. So we're actually saving $1,900.
But whereas before we were going well over the 50% match that were required, correct?
Correct. Before we were looking at 110 to 115 total, which would have left us with 90,000 out of pocket, so.
Christine, do we know the ARC grant, is that a 50/50?
It is a 50/50.
So whatever the total is.
They
by
might
half is
decrease.
what, so it's not necessarily, yeah.
Okay.
Probably $800 maybe.
Yeah,
So basically it maximizes the grant without going substantially over, which is what we were looking at previously, different scope, but.
Right.
And was Hunt, did you clarify they were fine with the survey? That she did?
well, we went back and forth and he just reiterated that, yes, we need you to obtain the topographic survey, so I tried calling him today and saying, yeah, we will get that, do you need a new survey?
I would just ask Ed
Getting it back.
what it would cost for them to just update that survey. It's
Why
not
would
gonna
it
be
be
now.
updated?
I don't know if it would or wouldn't.
It wasn't that long ago that
No,
it was
it's
done.
5 years ago.
No.
It was 5 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it would.
Well, I just know you get hung up on formalities in today's day and age, and if he's gonna be out there already, and you're not gonna add much to the bill, you might wanna just get a fresh date on it. I just have him quote it for you, so you know.
Okay,
If they don't need it, great, but my worry is you got 2 cooks in the kitchen now, and you get hung up on something silly.
Yep.
Good point.
Oh, that tree move, that rock move.
That tree grew a half inch.
All right, so do we need a revised approval then to move forward with that?
yeah, seeking board approval to move forward with the 45,000, the 4,200, and I guess Williams and Edsall has increased amount for a general survey as well.
Yeah, just send that out via email. It's not, I can't imagine it's gonna be substantial if they're already gonna be out there.
Okay,
But we can send that out via email. So right now we'll be looking at the 45,000 to hunt and the 4,200 for the topographic survey. Anybody else have questions? If not, I'd ask for a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Oh, get Eric, have it.
How about a second?
I'll say.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
so regarding a phase 2 study that would take this further and give us bid ready documents and etc. We're seeking a motion for this board to approve us applying for a RBDG grant application to assist in the phase 2 cost. Brittany and Leanne are willing to help me with that application, and the application's due by the end of February. And the thought is that by the time this study's done, we'll be approved for this phase 2 grant to cover hopefully a large portion of the next study to complete all the information needed then to, actually pursue funding to construct those buildings. And or contribute our own funds toward it.
So we've drawn up a resolution then
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, this it's authorizing us to submit an application for the RBDG grant up to for 100,000. Cover the phase 2.
Anybody got questions on that or? Not, I'd ask for a motion to approve application to the USDA for that. Marty, motion, second,
Okay.
all in favor, say aye.
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 So carried, so.
I would just like to say thanks to Britt for kind of taking a look at this and figuring out a way that maybe we can get more out of this by way of the RBG. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, thank- Well, two applications going in then this month, so.
Still waiting on a response from USDA for Reed Brook Meats application. I check in with them regularly. I always get an email back that they're just not ready to approve or disapprove that yet. Still haven't heard from.
That was submitted in July.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Crap.
I know. It's not like he doesn't want his equipment yesterday. Waiting to hear back from Soil and Water whether or not the Blodgett Road application they submitted on our behalf to fix that creek up so it doesn't knock the nice egg pool over. So waiting on a hopeful approval there. And then the USDA IRP loan application submitted has been moved up to state approval by USDA, and it looks like, you know, hopefully we should be approved for that, giving us more loan funds.
Great.
That's all I have for the regular section.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? If not, I'd ask for a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
Just stop our cleaning.